This is beginning to get a little bit weird because the Xbox Series X is without a doubt a better console in terms of power and things like that. There's just no doubt about that. Like I said a million times before, that's not knocking the PlayStation 5. It was always foolish to say, oh, the PlayStation 5 is more powerful. I like to make fun, or I at least I did, was like to make fun when, the PlayStation 5 would have a game that would perform better, but sometimes it really doesn't make sense. And now Digital Foundry has run another test on videos, and I for one just really think too, as what's going on with this, you start to scratch your head a little bit and just go, oh, this is so weird. So I personally think a lot of people are going to enjoy this video. It's one that's a little bit perplexing, but at the same time, you have to be aware of these things and just kind of go, oh, okay, well, especially when it comes to something like this, which is an older game that gets remastered. You would figure that would give Xbox the edge, because Xbox is already doing like older games much better than the PlayStation 5. So it's going to be a video and a topic you don't want to miss. Hey there everyone, I'm the Crapgamer, and this of course is Crapgamer Reviews, your home for gaming news, opinions, reviews, and much more. You might notice some changes around here. Hopefully that doesn't stop you from leaving us a like and possibly consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your free time with me and my silly YouTube channel. It really does mean a lot, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you guys very much. Now, Digital Foundry, you guys know them pretty well, did Skyrim Anniversary Edition, PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series X and S. Now, the interesting thing here is, how in the world does the PlayStation 5 version have the edge here? Like, I'm just kind of questioning that, okay? For me personally, I'm just like scratching my head going, how in the world did the PlayStation 5 get a first-party Xbox game? Well, now it's a first-party Xbox game, but I mean, I realize this thing's been out for a while, but the Skyrim Anniversary Edition just came out, and it's not terrible on Xbox or anything like that. I just find it to be a little bit problematic that this thing is actually out here kind of doing so many things, differently on Xbox versus PlayStation 5. Keeping in mind that I was very much aware and around at a time when Skyrim, which is one of my all-time favorite games, this game was actually, a game that ran terribly on PS3. I just felt like, it's just one of those things that it's weird, because Bethesda has traditionally done games on the on the PlayStation that realistically ended up not coming out that well. So, I think that it's a little bit strange that that's happening, and they're saying, hey, well, this is something that is happening a certain kind of way or whatever. But at the same time, I do think that it's a little bit funny to see that, it's hard to believe, as far as I could tell, that Bethesda was able to come out with such an amazing game that still holds up all these years later, and they haven't even started on the next one yet, which I think is a little bit strange. Now maybe Starfield will come out and kind of change all that, but for me, I just find it to be a little bit enigmatic. I think maybe that's the word, that the game is running much better on the PlayStation 5. Now, if you do have like a VRR TV or something like that, I think that would be something that would help with some of this, according to Digital Foundry. But at the end of the day, I also feel like, this is something that maybe shouldn't have had as much problems as it did. Now, apparently, what they're doing also is they're running a comparison to, there was a mod that you could put in there for the 60 FPS that actually runs things a little bit better. But at the same time, you have to question, well, how is it that these mods are actually doing a little bit better than some of the other stuff, and it can be a little bit frustrating. Like, listen, I own the game on Xbox, I own it on Xbox, and I've thought multiple times about going back and revisiting the game and seeing sort of where it's at and things like that, because it is one of my favorite games. Now, the reason why I might do this would be because I just played through the Mass Effect series a few months ago, and it still holds up incredibly well, and some of those games are older than Skyrim. Skyrim's only 10 years old, and Mass Effect 1 came out in 2007, and even though they reworked some of the stuff, it is incredibly well done. So, yeah, you know what, I've been meaning to maybe go back and visit Skyrim. The 60 frames per second is intriguing. It holds up well, but I'm just starting to question why some of these games, especially this one, is better on Xbox or excuse me, better than on PlayStation than on Xbox. You know, it just, to me, it doesn't make sense, and it's hard to kind of place who's to blame or what's to blame. Maybe personally I took too much stock in it, right? Because I saw a lot of the same things that you guys saw. Now, maybe I didn't pay attention to my own words when I saw developers say themselves that there's not a big difference between PlayStation 5 and Xbox. And, you know, it was the smallest gap that we would see. Now, when it comes to this, you know, of course, a lot of people on YouTube and a lot of these other, you know, sites and things like that make it sound like the Xbox is like uber more powerful, and it is much more powerful from a technical standpoint, but it doesn't seem to be showcasing like that. So you have to wonder a little bit, like, who's to blame a little bit. And I've mentioned that numerous times. It's like, are there certain YouTubers to blame? Is there somebody else to blame? Like, who at the end of the day do we go, this is kind of your fault, you put our expectations way too high? Now, as somebody, I'm not really sure I consider myself an influencer, but, you know, these people that are influencers, like, really go out on a limb here for Xbox, and then stuff like this keeps happening where it's pretty obvious that, you know, Xbox just isn't there yet. You know, now, will it be there someday? I don't know. You know what I mean? Already over a year into the new generation, you start to have to maybe question exactly what's going on with this. You know, like, what can change? What can Microsoft do to make things better? I think that's something that we all probably will probably look at some point. I'm sure they'll continue to update it. These things never just stay there, right? Like, we get updates and things like that, and I think that really kind of makes it what makes everything worthwhile, in my opinion. So I hope that we continue to get improvements with both these consoles, and I hope that we actually see some you know, sometimes where, you know, Xbox can really shine. Like, you know, you would think like the first party probably, right? Like, I'm guessing that's where it's going to really shine. You see stuff like Halo, which I love Halo. I think it's fantastic. I love Forza Horizon 5. I think it's fantastic, and they look great, and they tend to shine. But, you know, why can't some of the third-party stuff shine, or pretty much all the third-party stuff should shine there, right? Like, I play a lot of third-party games on Xbox for a multitude of reasons. I mean, and I think probably the number one reason is kind of lame, which is I like achievements, and I like, you know, I prefer the achievement system. But, you know, I hope that someday soon we get more kind of an idea of that superiority there on Xbox. Because I can remember the Xbox One X, when that thing launched, you had a clear-cut reason pretty much to get games, third-party games on Xbox, right? If you had an Xbox One X, you were going to get the best version, the best-looking version. I mean, it was even going to have, like, 4K textures and things like that, which weren't going to be able to be done on the PS4 Pro. Now, when it comes to, you know, some of these other things, they're a little bit questionable, but with that, I don't think very many people will question. And I'm not even a person that would, you know, that would hate it. Like, to me, I was just like, okay, I mean, there was no doubt. You play something like Red Dead Redemption 2, that was native 4K on the Xbox One X. I mean, that was just amazing. It was clearly the best version of the game. And now, you know, we start to see that, you know, we would hope that we would see something kind of similar, but it ended up not being that way. So, you know, I hope that we see some improvements, and I hope that, you know, I don't want to see, like, games be bad on PlayStation. I just would prefer things to be, you know, kind of what you pay for, I guess. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think. Please sound off, rate, comment, subscribe, and let me know. Thank you guys very much for rocking out with me. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crapgamer 'em up, Crapgamer out.